JavaScript is a scripting language. JS is a scripting language and it is most popular language. It is most popular language to implement web applications. Okay, most popular language to implement web applications. So this JavaScript is used, this JS is used client side. Okay, client side used in the client side, and JavaScript is very easy to learn. JavaScript is very easy to learn, and this is the best programming language. Okay, best programming language to implement high level client side applications. To implement client side applications. Okay, so JavaScript is developed by Netscape. JS is developed by Netscape. To interactive websites. To interactive websites. So using JavaScript, we can write we can interact with HTML source code. We can interact with HTML source code, and we can interact with the database also. Interact with database also. So the JavaScript commonly used to create interactive effects within web browsers. This JavaScript is used to implement interactive effects within web browsers. Interactive effects within browser. The advantages of JavaScript. First one is it is very speed and simplicity. And server load. Okay, server load. Okay, JavaScript is very fast because any code functions can run immediately instead of having to contact the server and wait for an answer. JS is very fast, because any code functions can run immediately instead of having to contact the server and wait for answer and next one is JavaScript is relatively simple to learn and implement. JavaScript is relatively simple to learn and implement. And server load, so we can reduce the burden on server. You can reduce the burden on server. Okay, burden on server. So using JavaScript we can validate the forms. Using JavaScript we can add functionality, we can add more functionality, and validate forms. And using JavaScript we can communicate with the server. We can communicate with the server, and we can communicate with the server to insert data into the server and to read the data from the server. Okay, so this JavaScript runs in client side only. Client side only. Client side means the browser. Okay, so JavaScript runs only in the browser, that is called Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera. Okay, like this. The definition of JavaScript, definition of JS. So JavaScript is the most popular scripting language on the internet, and it supports for all browsers. JavaScript is the most popular language popular language to implement client applications, client side applications. Client side applications, and JavaScript supports in all browsers. Okay, so nowadays number of JavaScript programming languages is there, that is Angular JS, React JS, okay, Script JS, and Ember JS, and Node JS. Okay, so all these are based on JavaScript. Okay, so to learn all these programming languages, must and should you have to know about JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript is the base for all these programming languages. To implement client-side applications, and so the JavaScript is designed to, this is designed to add functionality to the HTML pages, not to the HTML pages. So by using JavaScript, so we can execute JavaScript without primary compilation. We can execute JavaScript without preliminary compilation. Preliminary compilation. So everyone you can use JavaScript without purchase the license. Okay, to learn other script languages, yes, JS is the base for all. Okay, and for example, so we can use JavaScript in HTML pages by using script tag. Okay, so we have to use script tag. Okay, starting tag and end tag. Okay, to insert, to write JavaScript code in HTML forms. Okay, so in header section or in body section we can write this JavaScript code. Okay, in header section or in body section we can write JS code using script tag. Okay, so must and should you have to insert script tag before you write JavaScript code in your HTML forms. So for example, so we can do one example. For example, by using JavaScript, we can display current date time. Okay, local current date time. So for this, doc type HTML tag, and a header section, and next body. Okay, so sample sample.html. Okay, so we can display current date time in paragraph. Okay, so we can take one paragraph p. Okay, and we have to use script tag to insert JavaScript code in our HTML forms. Okay, so in real time also machine should JavaScript code in the uh, end of the body tag. So document dot, so here we can take id for paragraph p1. So based on paragraph id, so we can display current date time in paragraph. Document dot get element by id. Okay, in this we can find paragraph based on id dot inner html equal to date function. Okay, so this is the predefined function in JavaScript to read the current date time from local system. Okay, save this and run this example. Okay, see this. By using JavaScript, we are displaying current date time. Okay, Thursday, August 18, 2016, 9:36 seconds. Okay, India Standard Time. Okay, this is the sample example. So without JavaScript, we can't display current date time by using only HTML, CSS. Okay, machine should we have to use JavaScript to write to and to add some functionality to the HTML pages like this. Okay, so this is the JavaScript statement to display current date time in paragraph. So this is the document dot get element by id. Okay, document means this HTML document. Get element by id means, so this is the function to find out the HTML elements based on id. Okay, so based on id, so we can find HTML elements. Okay, get element by id, so this is the id for paragraph, id for any HTML element, and inner HTML is used to uh, apply text to the paragraph. So without script tag, the browser will treat as pure text and just write it to the page. Okay, so remove this script tag and save, refresh this form. Okay, see here, so browser will treat as pure text and just write it to the page. Okay, So for this we have to use script. For suppose this example is displaying local current standard time, India standard time directly, okay, without any user actions. For example, when you click on the button, so you have to display current date time. Okay, for this, so we have to use events. We have to use JavaScript functions to call the JavaScript functionality. Input type equal to button and value display date and on click equal to my function. Okay, JavaScript functions. So when you click on this button, okay, this JavaScript, this button click event, okay, this function is executed in the JavaScript and display current date time in paragraph. So we have to write functions for this function, my function, and open bracket, and here close bracket. Okay, JavaScript functions is very important to call functionality for events. So now this function is executed when you click on this button. So refresh this form. Okay, button is there. Okay, so JavaScript function is executed and displaying current date time. Okay, sometimes we want to execute JavaScript when an event occurs, so such as user click events, okay, user button click events, or when you load the page, so you have to execute JavaScript functions. Okay, so we can write JavaScript in two ways. First one is internal JavaScript and external JavaScript. So first one is external JavaScript. External JavaScript, and the second one is internal JavaScript. So internal JavaScript is separate JavaScript files. These are separate JS files, okay, to write JavaScript functions, JS functions, JS functionality. Okay, so in internal JavaScript is, so we can write JavaScript code within the HTML form. You can write JS code within the HTML forms. Okay, in head section or or body section. Okay. Okay, external JavaScript and internal JavaScript. So for this, here we have sample example, and here written one JavaScript function in HTML form. So this is the internal JavaScript. Okay, for external JavaScript we have to write this JavaScript functionality in another JS file. So for this we can take one notepad. Okay, we can cut this form, cut this function and place here. Okay, paste here my function and save this notepad and as .js file. Okay, my script.js, my script.js. Okay, see here JS file is created. Okay, JavaScript file. So now we have to call this JavaScript file in our sample.html form. So we have to use script tag and the source attribute. In source attribute we have to call give the path of script file, my script.js again, and close this script tag. Okay, save this and run this example now. Okay, same functionality is executing. Okay, so only button is there but JavaScript code executing in external file. So this is the link for uh, JavaScript file and HTML form. So in real time machine should, you have to write JavaScript, total JavaScript functionality in separate files, and you need to call JavaScript files in HTML form like this. Okay, so we can call this JavaScript files in body at the end of the body. Okay, end of the body we have to call this. So in header section also we can call JavaScript files. Okay, so we can call this JavaScript files in header section also, but okay, same functionality is executing, but in real-time examples this is the not the professional, and this is the uh, this will increase the application performance. Okay, so by calling this JavaScript files at the end of the body tag. When JavaScript is case sensitive, JavaScript is case sensitive. When you are writing JavaScript functions, writing JavaScript, when you are using JavaScript functions, okay, predefined JavaScript functions, when you are using JS defined functions, predefined functions, so you have to check your capitalization, check your capitalization to write to use functions, okay, predefined functions. So that is capitalization means, so there is a JavaScript predefined function here we are using. okay, get element by id. So in this function, predefined function, so here e is caps and b caps, I caps. Okay, from second word onwards, predefined functions from second word onwards, okay, first letter must be in caps. Okay, so get is small, and from second word onwards, first letter caps. So if you write b in small, okay, save this and refresh this example. Okay, so output is not getting, and go to inspect element. So here one error is there. Okay, go to inspect element and see here one error. So click on this, uncaught type error, document are getting by id is not a function. Okay, so we have to write b in caps. Okay, b. Okay, so output is displaying.